Every single time we go live on this thing, you guys say something right before I hit the button and I just start laughing. Oh my God. If you guys could only hear the conversations we have. Anyway, welcome everyone. It is the Our Turf Football Podcast. I am Dana OG. We have all four of the gang here today. So we have Sonia Greenfield, we have Kate Arnhart, and we have the Lisa Johnson, who's not paying any attention. Look, she's just looking down.
I'm on the wire. I'm got the
I know.
Cuts,
seriously. It's a little nuts, right? Like
it's a lot of nuts.
Today it was a lot of nuts. It's fair. I don't think she's wrong.
Here's
the thing. I think we need to start with the one thing everyone wants to talk about. Grow up and stop it. But my point is this.
Jesus.
Seriously. I want raise of hands.
Funny, but when Lisa loses it, it makes I can't get it back when Lisa. Anyway.
Oh my God. Okay.
My mind
start
totally
over.
Right
and
there.
3.
It went right to the gutter, and everyone
it's in.
just picked up on it. Everyone.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Cam Newton losing his job today. So there were people who were shocked. There were people who were like, oh, I knew that. I totally saw that coming. Like, I wasn't even surprised, which is bullshit. No one saw that coming right away. The interesting thing about it, there was a whole camp that thinks it's only because he's unvaccinated and wasn't able to play. Others believe it's truly because of Mac Jones and how well he did play. Lisa, where do you fall in that camp?
I think I talked about it on the show last week. I said what an opportunity.
You did. Yes.
I did. I said what an opportunity it was and how he looked. And I'll still say it. Mac Jones fell into the absolutely 100% perfect team he could have gone to. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all laughed. We all laughed about Alabama quarterbacks. We got 3 Alabama quarterbacks starting week 1. And he was no joke. He did. I told you guys, he went in there and acted like it was his team. I mean, this kid stepped up to the plate, and what a beautiful situation. And, like I said, I don't know if the vaccine thing had anything to do with it. It certainly hurt him.
Didn't help.
It didn't, because like I said, he just got those extra reps. He got that extra. He played with the ones all week. So, and like I said, it's a no-brainer for me. You pick a quarterback in the first round, you play him.
Right. And you've always said that, and you stick to it. And I love that you stick to your guns. I agree. Here's the interesting thing. And Sonia, I'm going to shoot this over to you.
Yeah, sure.
Already the arguments have started. God, love it. It makes me real happy. And you guys are going to understand why. Already the Trey Lance versus Mac Jones, not Trevor Lawrence. He's down there in Florida, and everyone's like, oh, poor kid. Has to play for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And so they're just kind of like that. But then they're like, but Trey Lance, Justin Fields, they're not starting. Mac Jones gets a starting job. So do you think that we are seeing the beginnings of the new, how it was always Manning versus Brady and Wilson versus Luck? Are we getting that with the new kids? I love it.
Yeah, they're trying to fire it up. And I think like you said, you've got Jalen Hurts, you've got Trey Lance, you've got Trevor Lawrence. You've got all these guys, and I think that they're waiting for the next big thing, the next, big group, as these guys are starting to retire. The Drew Breeses, the Peyton Mannings, they're starting to retire. These guys are coming up, and they're ready to take the reins. And I think everybody's kind of waiting for their next franchise quarterback so that they can have this longevity and this kind of going back and forth and all that good stuff. So I think they're getting ready, and it's going to be fun if these guys pan out. Yeah, especially this Justin Fields thing. I think if he pans out, it's going to be fun.
I think so too. For you, Kate, where is Cam Newton done? Is he going to, decide it's okay to be a backup? There's all these people, Dallas, he should go back up in Dallas. And then the Dallas fans were like, oh, no, we're good, thanks. And then there were other people who are like, oh, they need him here, they need him there. I don't know. I don't see Cam Newton. I love Cam Newton's ego. I think it's hilarious, right? I just dig the kid. I think whatever. But I don't see that ego letting him play backup. I think he'd rather go do something else.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was not surprised that Mac Jones was named the starter. I was surprised that they didn't just sit Cam Newton, that they just let him go. That was the surprise to me, was that they just let him go. But there's a lot of time left, and there's a lot of football to be played. And Trey Lance has already gotten himself injured, and so they said he'll be fine in a week. Broke his finger on his throwing hand, on his non-throwing finger. He broke one of them. I mean, injuries happen. There's going to be a team that needs a quarterback in the next, I'm going to call it 17 days. There's going to be a team looking for a quarterback, and Cam's going to be sitting at home, doing his nails, waiting for a phone call.
Literally.
Hopefully he'll pick up a vaccination on the way so that it won't slow him down. But when you're talking about these new young quarterbacks and the Peyton Manning, Drew Brees kind of thing, didn't we try to do that with Mariota and Winston? And how did that work out? You need to give these kids
Winston is starting.
Winston is starting. We called that one as well. I believe we all decided that we were done with the experiment known as Taysom Hill, and we've just moved on. But I mean, at least he's still in the league, right? Mario's not even in the league anymore. So you can't force it. Those quarterbacks that we lived through, and I lived through, Elway and Marino and that kind of stuff, and Jim Kelly in those days, those were like just organic things that happened. And those rivalries just came because they played each other and because of that kind of thing. If they try to force it into a Lance Jones kind of a situation, you're right. Trevor Lawrence is going to be like, I have something to say about that. And if Justin Fields gets his chance, and you've still got, the quarterbacks that are 3 years out, Baker Mayfield is looking like pick of the litter of that Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, Baker, all those.
Yeah, he is.
He is looking like, and so maybe we need to give them, I know Lisa wants to start these guys year one, but some of the ones that are doing better have had a year or so to sit. So we'll see how they go. We'll see how it does. But
yeah. I agree. I think it's really interesting. I was thinking about that because, we got so sick as a Seahawks fan of the Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck, but it didn't start out that way. Year one, it was Luck versus RG3, and Russell Wilson just kind of came in out of nowhere, really in the second year of that rivalry. And I think you're right. We got to give him a minute because this could turn out to be something totally different. In a few years, we could be like, Mac Jones, who? Or Trey Lance, who? You know what I mean? Like it could be, it would be real interesting that way.
It could be Trevor Trevor Lawrence and Baker Mayfield.
It could.
It could be Mac Jones and Jalen Hurts. Like it could be the former Alabama quarterbacks, right?
Just throw all the Alabama quarterbacks against each other. Why not? Just why not? Right. I think that's interesting. So
they'll get injured and they'll be out, and it'll be just like all the other Alabama players.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Trent Richardson left scars on my soul. I will never get past that. Can't get past it.
Evil.
Sorry.
He's evil. I didn't see any other too many shocking. I have been off Twitter for the last couple of hours, so I haven't. I was a little surprised when San Francisco, I think, was it San Francisco? No. One of the NFC West, maybe the Cardinals maybe, cut Clinton Dix today. And it made me wonder, it's like, okay, that was a little bit of a surprise. I didn't think that he was injured or not playing well, but again, I could definitely be wrong there. And then of course, honest to God, the biggest surprise of the entire day, the Detroit Lions cut both their kickers. They are going to go for two every single time they make a taste. Obviously, they're going to pick one up.
Why not?
They're going to pick one up somewhere and probably for cheap, but really? You cut both your kickers? Sonia, explain this.
I can't. And like he said, I guess they're just going to go for it every single time. I highly doubt that, but I think it's just they're just tweaking things and just trying to figure out how it's going to work. And I'd like to think that there's a method to the madness, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not too hopeful right now, but we'll see.
Okay, but we have to remember this is the coach that likes to chew on people's kneecaps, right?
Yes.
Like, we can't screw around with this guy. He's like, screw the kickers. He's in Lisa's boat. Kickers don't matter. And so therefore we're just going to go for two.
How desperate are you for roster spots that you wanted to keep two more linemen, so you just got rid of your kickers for your initial 53?
Now I will say linemen.
I'm not even going to draft a kicker in our fantasy football league. I'm going to go full Detroit Lions. I'm not even drafting a kicker in our fantasy football league.
Why not? It's okay. That works.
Why not?
What time's our draft? 9 p.m.?
Something. We're gonna see if they stick to it for sure. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Live. I'm telling you.
You know what? I look at it this way. I do it this way. I look at it this way. Ladies, the Lions are going their own way. They're forming their own path. We need to respect that. They went after Goff, and they think that they can lead him. He can lead them. So we're gonna run with you this year, Lions.
Has a coach in NFL history ever been fired before they even play one game?
Stop it, Lisa. He's not going to be fired before he plays a game. Damn it!
Oh my Lord. Jeez.
Does he have control of the roster, or is that the front office making those decisions?
No, he does. He does. Now, I will say the front office has been really good about just kind of being a little bit more hands-off. Well, the front office. The GM, I think, has done, I think overall they've done a pretty good job. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's a rebuild. They're starting from the inside out. I love the offensive line, the moves that they've made there. It could be a pretty solid offensive line. We don't have any running backs. We don't have any wide receivers. So
we don't have a quarterback.
Seattle has a couple extra. All right, you guys. Well, you know what? You know who's going to be able to make sense of all of this for us? Our very good friend, Mr. Emory Hunt, is joining us. Welcome to the
legend. I apologize right now for these ladies.
You apologize for yourself, Lisa Johnson. You don't apologize for me.
Lisa is a little wound up today. Emory, welcome to the show. I was talking about you to some friends, some Twitter friends of mine, and I said, Emory Hunt has been a helper and a supporter and a friend of ours. It's been almost 10 years now, Emory, that we have been doing this and chatting on our podcast. You were one of the first people that ever came on our podcast clear back in the day. And we appreciate it so much because we know how much you have blown up, sir. Congratulations.
Oh, I appreciate that. And time does fly when you're having fun. And it's good to see you guys continue to build. And, you know, I don't think a lot of people, understand, how long things take to really go. Some people pop in and they drop out after months. And, it shows you how much they really didn't like this arena or wasn't built for this arena. So the fact that you guys hit 10 years, that's huge.
Yeah, forever it feels like, for sure. Oh, I love it. I wouldn't do anything else. Well, Emory, I wanted to start off tonight with you. There's every year in both conferences, there are kind of the teams, right? The teams that that are going to be there, be competitive, be really hard to beat. And for years, there was the NFC and the Patriots, right? Like really, that's all there was for a long time in the AFC. Well, now that I think the balance of power has shifted a little bit, the AFC seems super strong. The NFC seems almost a little bit more up for grabs. So which to you are the top teams in each one of the conferences that you feel are either on their way up and ready to kind of take over their conferences or that you feel are already there and pretty well cemented? Oh, Lord. I'm sorry. Don't listen to Kate. You don't have to say the Browns.
Well, I mean, when you think about, watching these teams, work through their struggles, it's good to see the Browns, get up there and be what they have become. Because when you look at the Browns on paper, they probably have one of the most talented two deeps in the NFL. And so we saw them last year play out that type of potential on paper. But you have your regular, your Baltimores, your Pittsburghs. The reason why those teams are always successful is because they have great, ownership and front office staffs, and which trust their coaches to do what they brought them in to do, and they let those guys stay and develop a program. That's why New England is really good and has been good over Bill Belichick, and that's why Sean Payton and the Saints have sustained that level of success, even though they've had maybe one or two down years, so to speak, but they are always in contention. So if you have continuity within the front office and they stress that to the staff down below, they'll be just fine. But I do feel like someone like Philadelphia is on the rise again with Jalen Hurts. I think people are sleeping on the Eagles this year. You look at what they do with out there out west in Arizona. They've gotten better every year. 5 games. First year with Cliff Kingsbury, then 8 last year So they're trending in the right direction. I just want us to get back to an era of patience. You saw that with Buffalo, and now look at Buffalo. And so if they give these coaches time to really develop and work and have a plan, and not listen to social media and not listen to the television media, ready to fire every coach after every loss or trade this guy after one bad game, you allow guys to work through that process and teams find their footing, and that's how you get that sustained success.
Yeah. That's funny you said patience, because literally before you came on, we were just talking about it. We were just talking about these new young quarterbacks coming on and how they're already starting to pit them against each other, Mac Jones versus, Trey Lance or whatever it may be. And it was brought up that we need a little patience. I think it's the same with these young quarterbacks. They expect them, much like Jalen Hurts. I felt so bad for that kid. He was like thrown in the fire and just people ate him alive at the beginning. How many years do you think does it really take for these guys to settle in and become, then yes, they're a franchise quarterback. Yes, this is what they're meant to stay on our team, sort of a thing. Because as Kate brought up, it took Baker Mayfield a minute to get there.
It takes time, and everybody is different. You look at some guys that can hit the ground running and some guys that need a different situation. I like to use someone like Dwayne Haskins as an example. You saw the chaotic situation in Washington, and he wasn't built to handle that, situation. Now you go to a situation in Pittsburgh where it's more of a fostering the growth of a young player and allowing him to make mistakes, but coaching him back from those mistakes to where he doesn't make the same mistake twice. And now he's able to play a little bit better. You see potential in him long term, juxtaposed to a situation, let's say in Miami, where last year you say two of this, two of that, you get Tua out there and he makes a mistake. Then you yank him and put a guy that is going to make a mistake out there. And then now you have to go back to Tua, and then you yank him again. So now when you put him out there, you have a guy that's gun shy, that's going to be afraid to make a mistake because the last time he made a mistake, you pulled him. And so You're going to get a conservative guy. So now when you go into a situation where you let Tua be himself and you give him that confidence, he may be the type of player that needs that reassurance. And you saw him this preseason being more aggressive out there, throwing the ball deep down the field, using his legs to take off and buy time to find guys downfield. When you empower people, you get better results. Look at what happened with Derek Carr out there in Vegas. You empower guys and guys can produce. But if you look at Tyrod Taylor when he was in Buffalo, and people wonder why he was a check down guy, or he was didn't want to make the tough throw. It's the same thing that happened to Alex Smith early in his career. Because he made the tough throws, he got benched. You pulled him, and so now you get this guy that's he's a game manager, but you made him that way. You took away his aggressiveness and so some guys can overcome that, and you see how they were able to foster a Patrick Mahomes. They allowed him to be who he is, and if he makes a mistake, you coach him up and you show him not to make that same mistake, and now he's able to be a little bit more aggressive in that regard.
I think Lisa has a question. She's like a little kid in class with her hand up.
Well, Mike, I want to go off of that, Emory. Do you think that there are coaches that actually want that type of player, that want a game manager compared to a coach like Flores, who to me is a little bit more conservative? I think that he likes a little bit more of control of Tua instead of just letting him go out and be the gunslinger. Like you said, he seemed like he let Ryan Fitzpatrick do that, but they seem like they reined Tua in a little bit to me. So do you think you have coaches that would like certain quarterbacks to fit their type of quarterback that they're looking for?
Coaches are funny. They're like no different than regular people. Somebody will see a viral video on social media of someone berating let's say a cashier, and like, man, if that was me, I would. And so when that situation happens and they're in the store, what they do? Stand quiet and do nothing.
Right.
It's different when you're in the moment. And so, these coaches to a man will say, "Oh, I want Patrick Mahomes. I just love the way he plays." But you get Patrick Mahomes on your team, and then you want to make him Alex Smith. Because you're afraid he might throw the intercept. So coaches are always fickle in that regard. You Tom Coughlin changed how Tiki Barber carried the entire football. He probably took away another 1200 yards from Tiki Barber because you can't run naturally like this, because you're holding this high and tight, but you're worried about fumbling because coach gonna bury you on the bench. And so it's just some coaches really have to, allow guys to be themselves. You can't have robots out there. Everyone is individual, and that's why Andy Reid's such a great coach. I mean, look how he allowed Shady McCoy to swing that football around like a loaf of bread the entire career. Didn't try to coach him to keep it tight. You let Shady be Shady. You just better not fumble that football. And that's what happened, and so that's why he's such a great coach. That's why Pete Carroll is such a great coach. That's why you get these guys that allow players to be themselves and they get the best out the team.
We just got a comment on our live stream that said most teams start looking for a new quarterback about 2 years too late. And that is very true. I wanted to acknowledge that. It's very, very true. Emory, I want to know, do you have something in preseason that was like the biggest surprise to you? Was there a player or a coach, one of the new coaches that really surprised you with what they were doing?
I was shocked at how the Jets operated, their entire preseason. All we heard out of camp was that Wilson was throwing interceptions and, missing a lot of targets. But then he gets in the game, he's still being aggressive. And he's not missing targets, and he's not turning the ball over. He's doing a good job in managing the game without losing that flair of what made him the number 2 pick. And so I love how they were coaching him up at practice, not coaching out the specialness of him. And so he understands going in the game, okay, I know I can't make this throw. I made it in practice. It got picked off. So I was impressed with how the Jets offense looked. They look competent. They look capable of being productive. I'm not worried about the defense because I know with Robert Saleh and a defensive-minded head coach, defensive guys are going to get the defense right, But I was more impressed with the offense and how they looked all throughout the preseason. I don't care if it was against vanilla defenses or, buttercream defenses. Doesn't matter. It was, they executed. And that's all you want to see in the preseason.
Yeah, I think that I'm excited to watch him as a coach compared to being the defensive coordinator. I want to see how he kind of he takes off. Robert Saleh, I'm talking about, takes off and kind of covers that, the whole team. He always fascinated me as a defensive coach. So I'm excited to see what he kind of does up there. Sonia, I'm going to let you ask the next question because I thought it was brilliant when you came up with it. And so I'm going to hand it over to you. I loved it. It was a great question.
It was a pretty good question, I thought, but I don't know. I'm biased. So I know this past weekend was the MEAC and the SWAC game between North Carolina A&T and I can't remember who it was from the SWAC. Was it
it was North Carolina Central and Alcorn.
Yes. Okay, sorry. So my question is, I'm an HBCU grad. I'm in Atlanta right now. Do you think that having Deion Sanders and Coach Eddie George down in Tennessee State, how do you think that's helping HBCUs? Do you think it's helping?
I think so. It can't hurt,
Right.
I do games at Morgan State, so I got a broadcast this weekend.
Okay.
They played Towson. It'll be on ESPN Plus. So, and Tyrone Wheatley is the head coach, another former NFL
yes,
guy.
he is. I forgot about that. Michigan man.
Get in the house.
And it works when you have that cachet of saying, I played in the NFL. And, a lot of these kids don't watch the football we all did growing up because there's so much other stuff they can do. I mean, we lived on NFL films and Steve Sable telling stories, and we knew about the history before we knew about stuff we needed to know about in real life, right? And so for these kids, you say, I played in the NFL, they go in, YouTube or Google or Pro Football Reference. And so when you're seeing an Eddie George or a Deion Sanders or a Tyrone Wheatley, that carries something. And quietly, somebody like Reggie Barlow has done a great job at 2 spots, at Alabama State and at Virginia State, where he is now. He played a long time for the Jaguars in the NFL. So when kids hear that, it carries something. And also the fact that, nowadays, I feel like those guys going to those programs can help, with fundraising, with raising awareness and bringing more eyes and, most importantly, more money to the program, because systemically those programs have been cut out. There's a great book I was reading over the pandemic. It was Blood, Sweat, and Tears. It's about the history of Florida A&M football. And at one point in time, Florida A&M was the best football program in the state. Florida and Florida State were, second and third distantly. And so when it came time for government funds, because this is a public university, so they got to divvy up the money equally, it was, 35, and, it was a low number for Florida A&M. So the majority of the state funds went to Florida State. Not enough went to Florida A&M. So that's how you get these schools that were, not good on the football field, but they're building up their facility, the school buildings, the stadium. And Florida A&M didn't have the funds. They had to use the funds that they got to help build up the school, as opposed to the stadium where the other programs did. And so you extrapolate that, and you have that over, 5 decades, and that's the gap you see in college football. So there's a significant gap that a lot of these colleges have to make up. And so when you see the money and things start to go in, you start to see the return on the back end. Let's say at North Carolina A&T, and how successful they've been on the football field. More eyes, more dollars, more donations. Now they are able to invest in other spots. You look at the track and field team; they're number 1 or number 2 in the country in track and field. They have national champions. So it shows you it can be done. Think about Grambling. What 10 years ago, where they threatened to boycott because they didn't have, they didn't have air conditioning in the weight room and the facilities.
Their facilities were trash.
Yes, that's right.
Garbage, right? And this is
Their
Grambling.
facilities were trash.
It's just, I think having those marquee names at programs can only help, because they have now the resources. You see what Dion has been able to do at Jackson State, just bringing more eyes and more money going into Jackson State and into their athletic program, which we all know is the front door of your university. So I think it's nothing but a net positive for these schools.
We have a question in our chat. It says, is this an advantage for HBCU specifically, or would these people help any program? My thought is some of these bigger programs, they don't need it. You know what I mean? They don't need those names. They already have the names that come back for alumni night or whatever. But what about like a Division II level school or some of those smaller schools? Do you think NFL players would help them in the same way?
I think here's the thing. They can only do so much.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you really get your donations from your wealthy alumni base.
Right.
Now you bring in the conversation the wealth gap and pay gap for minorities. So, you may be an alum of, let's say, a Langston University, and you may be successful in your own right, but you're not making the money in your profession that the guy that graduated from, Ohio State working at this firm makes. So, you still have the wage gap issue that you're dealing with. So
true.
Even though Deion Sanders can bring in $1 million or $2 million to Jackson State, the graduates of Jackson State, what their annual salary is, or how many high earning graduates that they have, that's a big part of it too, because if you don't have a lot, you tend to not donate a lot. And that's a big thing. So you have guys that can, we just saw today, someone was Nebraska was in danger of, not selling out this home game. And that would have been the end of 367 consecutive sellouts. 2 donors came in and bought the rest of the tickets. And I don't know how many tickets were available, but imagine having the liquid assets to go and buy thousands of tickets, at Nebraska, where that's the big game in town. So, that's the difference. You still have, there's a lot of issues systemically that aren't even about the football, that affects the football out there on the field.
Well, I am very happy. I agree with you 1,000% on all of that. But I am excited that we are hearing more about HBCUs. And I know we have just gotten a new collaboration we're doing with the College Gridiron Showcase. And I know that they do a game specifically for that. And I love that. And I think that that's important. But I also know that I'm going to plug my little Bobby Wagner up there in Seattle. You know, he is now doing a lot of stuff to try and help HBCUs too. So I'm hoping we see more of them. I hope we see them more on TV. I hope we get to start doing some of that stuff for sure.
Well, y'all need to show that support for Morgan State this Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern time.
You got it.
That's where my in-laws went to school. So yeah, we are Morgan Bears. So yes, there you go.
That's awesome. You guys, Emory Hunt, like I said, has been a friend of ours for a long time. And Emory, I see you everywhere. I see you on ESPN. I see you on CBS. You are all over the place now. So I want everyone to, first of all, I want you to watch that game on Saturday on ESPN Plus for sure, 4:00. You heard it here. And then, of course, you can follow him on Twitter. It's at FBallGamePlan. And Emory, we appreciate you so much. We love the support you give us, and we appreciate you so much.
No, I appreciate you guys. And I love seeing you guys continue to do your thing, being that voice out there for everyone to soak up the information. And it's not just surface level stuff. You guys really dig in deep and, provide good analysis. And it's just not fluff, and that's why you guys sustained so long and didn't get, some people come in and get tired of it because they really didn't think about the game, but you guys are always about the game. That's why you continue to grow.
The czar of the playbook, ladies and gentlemen, Emory, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye. All right, you guys. Oh my gosh, I do too. Literally one of my absolute favorite Twitter follows, without question. And person, he's the nicest guy you've ever met in your life too. So,
and we go to the Senior Bowl every year, so I have to meet.
I know. Lisa gets to hang out.
I do. I get to hang out with him. I always look forward to that. That's the first thing I start thinking about. A couple of weeks. I got to make sure I get to Emory, and we do our little annual chat, and he knows me, knows my quarterback guru-ness, and we kind of,
My goodness. No, just kidding. Here's the thing.
That's a nice, what do they call that? A soft flex?
Yeah, it was a soft flex. It wasn't even soft. It was pretty hard flex.
We see you, Lisa.
We've seen you, Lisa. Here's the thing, too. We need. First of all, I want to mention to everyone who is listening and watching that we did just announce this week that we have a new collaboration with the College Gridiron Showcase. We're very excited. We're going to be providing lots of coverage for them. They are a fantastic place for college players of every level. And I mean every level. They go from Division I all the way down. All the way down to the lowest level of football. And they give them a place for NFL scouts to see them. And we're really excited to be partnering with them. So we need to talk Emory into going to that one too. That'll be very fun too.
Definitely.
So we're super excited about that. All right, ladies, to wrap up tonight, I have one more little topic for you guys. And this is something we normally talk about during our Pick'em podcast, which we are doing next week. It's crazy. The Pick'em podcast is nuts because we fight basically for a half an hour on who we think is going to win each division and the Super Bowl. It's real fun if you guys want to come watch, but
please come watch.
Not going to be there. Yes. Kate is going to Jamaica, so we don't even have to talk to her.
Well, listen,
I will send my picks in sealed envelopes. I will
sealed envelopes. That's right. Sealed envelopes.
Sealed envelopes.
I was going to send them to Sonia, but I feel like it's too close to November 27th for me to trust her with anything important.
She's going to change stuff.
I'm going to mail it to Dana.
Send it to me. Send it to me, darling. Send it to me.
That's right. It's always too close.
But Jamaica, we got Gemma Martinez is watching from Mexico. We're broadening our broadcast.
If y'all don't mind me having 3 rum drinks calling in and giving you my picks, I will.
West Coast shout out to Jose. He's on board here listening to us. Appreciate you guys. And you want a show, you're gonna come next week. You guys gotta come back next week.
Oh, it's a little nuts for sure.
Nuts.
Well, the Scotty is a personal friend of mine, so
we're glad that he's here. Okay, can we get back to our topic now? You guys always veer off. I gotta pull them back. Go this way. I gotta pull them back.
Alignments off.
Good Lord. All right. So our last topic is going to be which team didn't make the playoffs in 2020 that will make the playoffs this year. There's always a couple, right? They go from one of the worst, not worst to first. I think that that's too much expectation, but worst to playoffs. I'm going to start because, to be honest with you, it's the easiest of all of them, and that is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers. I think the Chargers were this close last year. I love Justin Herbert. I love that team. I love the way it's put together. I think it's going to give Patrick Mahomes a little bit of a run for his money. So we'll see how that goes. I could be real wrong. That's the fun of it, right? But I'm going to go with the Chargers as my pick. Kate, what is your pick?
I think I am going to steal something I heard one of y'all talk about earlier since you went to me next. And
Sorry.
I am going to go with the Denver Broncos. Because you keep telling me, Dana, how good they are and that we're overlooking them and maybe they'll have a chance at the playoffs this year.
Listen, I'm not saying that they're Super Bowl bound. But this defense is insane in Denver. And if Teddy Bridgewater can even manage the game, I think that they are going to be much better than people expect. So I'm not riding or dying with the Broncos, but I'm thinking that they're going to surprise a couple of people this year. I'm just saying. That's just me. All right. Well, now I got to give Sonia a minute to think of another one since she stole hers. So, Lisa, we'll go to you next.
I'm going to homer it. I'm going to say the Dolphins are going to go. You know, I mean, we had a 10-6 record, 10-6 record last year. Come on, seriously, got one extra game now. Two is comfortable. I'm going to throw the Dolphins in as going over the hump. Homering totally on this pick. You heard it here first.
It's 2:00 somewhere.
It's 2:00 coming.
You guys are so
no one is surprised. But honestly, Lisa, it's not a bad pick. I mean, seriously. Yeah. I mean, it's actually somewhat logical. So I think that that's good. It's not really it's not a homer pick. It's there. I get you. It'd
be a homer pick if she took them to win the division. If she just takes them for the wild card, then wild card is perfectly reasonable.
It's next week.
Lord help us. Poor Buffalo Bills fans. All right, Sonia, what about you? What's your team to make the playoffs next year?
So Kate gave me a makeup, but she said the Steelers, which I think Steelers good, but also I think the Philadelphia Eagles could be. I think they're kind of getting things together. You know, Jalen Hurts is looking pretty decent, so it could be the Eagles. It could be.
I was real surprised when Emory said that he thinks that people are overlooking the Eagles. Because to be honest with you, I'm one of them. I wasn't even paying attention to them all that much. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. First of all, they're not in the two divisions that I cover, but that's okay. I pay attention to the whole league pretty closely. We all do. Right. And it's like, I hadn't really paid that much attention to the Eagles. And should I have?
You got Jalen and you got his receiver from college. It could be some magic. And, you know, I think last year was just quarterback issues. You had, you know, just that whole thing. So I think this year they're able to kind of take a breath. They got a new coach in. Yes, he started off a little rocky, but I think he's going to kind of be able to come around. So it could be the Eagles.
That's interesting too. I'm going to pay more attention to them for sure. That division's a little nutty anyway.
It is. It's a little nuts.
I find it interesting that the majority of us picked AFC teams. Like, it's almost like the NFC, we expect to be the exact same teams from last year, but the AFC seems to have more teams that are moving up and to be competitive and may have a shot at getting in the playoffs this year. Like, there's more movement going on in here. To what you said when we opened the show, Dana, without the Patriots just running over everybody, it opens a lot of things up for people just mentally. They don't have, you know, the Patriots in their head anymore. And so
we can't beat Brady. Right. The interesting thing is Tom Brady has come to the NFC, and honestly, it didn't really change the balance power too much. I think it gave a little bit more credence. Obviously, the Bucs. But the Bucs were always a decent team. I mean, when Jameis was there, he was being Jameis, but he still managed to throw 5,000 yards. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't. Right. We didn't ignore them. But I do think that the NFC has some higher powerhouse teams. I could see maybe Arizona sneaking in, although I don't know how in that division they're going to, you have to trudge through. Even if San Francisco is a disaster in their quarterback position, they still have that defense. And then you have the Seahawks and the Rams. So that's just hard for the Cardinals, unless something something can happen. Something happens every year.
And I think that's going to happen. You're going to see one of these teams that we're sitting here going to say, oh, they're definitely going to go in. And I think you're going to see a team fall hard. Where at the end of the season, we're going to be on this podcast go, wow, I saw that coming from nowhere that they weren't going to be, So,
well, guess what? We're going to talk more about that next week when we do our Pick'em show. And that is a great show. It's a little long. We have a tendency to be a little long-winded on the Pick'em show. So prepare yourselves if you're going to hang out.
I know you guys are shocked, right?
Right.
It's my favorite show of the whole year.
It's
my favorite show too. We have such a good time. And I reached out to people. We're going to get their opinions. We're going to put polls up on Twitter so you can tell us who you think is going to win the divisions and that sort of thing. So it's going to be a really good time. So we will be back here next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time, right here live on YouTube. Hope everyone has a good night. Bye-bye.